Hello everybody and welcome to a Daytona 500 weekend of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Manmouth. Pleased to be joined by Charles Krall. Charles, glad to have you on the broadcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, all right, you know what? I'm looking at that shirt. I don't really have one. All I have is a plain old black shirt, but ARCA Menards Series. Let the fans know what you guys are looking to accomplish today and more about your organization.
So we are in our 71st season, and this is the 60th time that we have raced here at Daytona International Speedway. We are the opening act of today's doubleheader here at DIS. We will race at 1:30. The Xfinity Series will follow us. And yeah, it's been a pretty exciting week. We've got some really great storylines. We've got some really exciting young drivers like Jesse Love and Tony Breidinger and Connor Mosack, who's on the pole here today. And you know, a lot of people remember, you know, the show Malcolm in the Middle from, you know, back in the early 2000s. We got Frankie Muniz, who was the star of that show, starting 16th today. So yeah, we've got a lot going on. We've got a great field of cars. It's going to be a good competitive race. And should be a really exciting one. You can watch live 1:30 on FS1 if you can't join us here at the track.
Well, so let me ask you a little bit about ARCA Menards Series. Do you find that this is one of the breeding grounds to develop a lot of Cup drivers?
I'm glad that you said that, because it is.
Okay.
We have, if you look through not only the Cup Series, but you look at the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, 80% of those drivers in those three series have raced in ARCA before they made their way up the ladder. And we have, whether it's a former Rookie of the Year or a former series champion in the ARCA Menards Series and the ARCA Menards East and West, 32 of our former champions and Rookies of the Year are racing in the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series level. So yeah, we have a lot of drivers who have started at this level and began their professional racing career and moved on up. And of course, you know, drivers like Benny Parsons and Davey Allison started in the ARCA Series, have won the Daytona 500. Benny won the series championship, and both are in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
All right, well, you know why I bring that up? Because being a baseball guy my whole life, I always know that you're always finding breeding ground for younger
Absolutely.
talent. So I can certainly appreciate everything you're talking about in terms of where your series is going. But usually, let's talk about when they leave ARCA, where do they generally go after that?
So the top three drivers on our championship last year are full-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this year.
Right.
They all raced last night. Many of our former, like Christian Eckes is a former series champion. He was in that Truck Series race. The driver who finished fourth in our point series, our point standings last year, and has been a two-time defending ARCA Menards East champion, Sammy Smith. He's racing in the Xfinity Series with in the car that our previous champion, Ty Gibbs, drove last year. So yeah, there's that's usually what the path is. It's ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, Cup.
Well, that's easy enough. Even a guy like me who knows a lot more about auto racing than most people think, you know. So let's give you a little bit more background about the ARCA Menards Series in terms of how far it dates back.
It dates back to, actually, we can trace our roots back to the foundational days of NASCAR, believe it or not. So John Markham and Mildred Markham, who founded our company in 1953, were friends with the France family. And they would come down and help officiate the races with Bill and Annie France on the beach. That's kind of how they formed a lifelong friendship right there. And after, of course, NASCAR was founded in 1948. After that happened, the Markhams went back to Toledo, where they were from, and started what was then called the Midwest Association for Race Cars. And it was basically a Midwestern version of what NASCAR was. You know, they ran the same types of cars on the same types of tracks, fairgrounds tracks, short tracks. And you know, we had some really good growth throughout the 50s and into the early 60s, when, you know, auto racing at fairgrounds tracks was really big. And then we started coming here in 1964, and as part of coming to the southeast part of the country, Bill France suggested, you know, you're not really just running in the Midwest anymore. You're running kind of all across the country. You should come up with a different name. And we decided to go with the Automobile Racing Club of America. So that dates back to 1964. We've been racing here at Daytona ever since. We've raced at Talladega since 1969. We've had I believe we will race for the 80th time at Pocono Raceway coming up here this year. We've had over 1,500 races all across the country dating back to 1953. So we've been here for a long time, and we're going to be here for a long time.
So I have to ask you, I mean, you set me up so good. Then again, you're a communications guy, you should, but talking Scott the Motor City Man Mouth here with Charles Krall. Glad to have him on the broadcast today. But, you know, did you ever have an opportunity to race on the beach per se?
Did I?
Or
I've run on the beach a couple of times.
Yeah, well, I parked my car on that beach.
ARCA never raced on the beach.
Okay.
No, we've raced on a lot of different dirt tracks over the course of the years, but we never raced on the beach.
Now, I know Tony Stewart was involved with Menards for a while, is that correct?
In the early days of his career, he drove for John Menard's IndyCar team, that is correct.
Yeah, I know that, and didn't he proceed to have a little bit of ownership in terms of what Menards versus something different?
That was something different, but he also raced in the ARCA Menards Series and won on a dirt track in southern Illinois. It's his one career victory. Yes.
All right, so let's talk about some of the Cup guys that actually started per se. That way everybody will understand when we get done with this conversation, hey, you know what, this is a great place to start, and you can definitely go out there and realize that, hey, you're on the right track.
Chase Elliott.
No pun intended, maybe there was one.
Well, there's a good pun there. No, Chase Elliott came and ran some ARCA races when he was a young man, 15, 16 years old. He was actually at one time was our youngest ever super speedway winner, and of course we define a super speedway as any track longer than 1 mile in length. He won at Pocono when he was 16 years old. Eric Jones raced with us. He was a winner at Berlin Raceway when he was just 15 years old. Todd Gilliland won a race at Toledo Speedway the day after he turned 15. Chris Buescher was our 2012 series champion, our 2011 Rookie of the Year. He actually was in our garage area yesterday to present Daniel Dye with the 2022 Rookie of the Year award. We could just go on and on. Like I said, 80% of those drivers in the Cup Series, Xfinity, and Truck Series have raced in ARCA, and I believe half of those drivers have won races at our level. So, yeah, if you pick a name, it's almost you've got an 80% chance that they raced with us.
All right, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this question. Okay, I'm gonna drop names. Just let me know if there was any involvement or
do it.
And then not only any involvement, but you know whether it's on the track or off. Let's have some fun. Richard Petty.
His grandson, Adam, raced with us. His son, Kyle, raced with us. And as a matter of fact, Kyle won the 1979 Daytona ARCA 200, the very first race he ever drove of any kind. Got it behind the wheel of one of his dad's old Dodge Magnums and waxed him down here. So the Petty family, while Richard himself never raced with us, he's had a couple of grandsons, Adam and Thad Moffitt, have raced with us, and of course Kyle, his son, raced with us. And there was a driver back in the 1950s, the very mysterious J.L. Petty, who we think might have actually been Lee Petty with a different name, who won a couple of races at Flat Rock Speedway. We know it's a member of the
know where Flat Rock is. You're talking from a guy from the
That's
Midwest.
Right. So we know it's a member of the Petty family. I think it might have been Lee racing under another name. But yeah, no, there's the Petty family. While the King never came and raced with us, the Petty family does have very long ties.
Oh, so you have a little bit of a connection with us. Yes, Richard was a little.
Right. Same thing with the Allisons. Bobby Allison has one ARCA win, but he never really came and raced with us too often. But when Davey was coming through the ranks, he purposely sent Davey to come and race with us. And as a matter of fact, while our cars were very similar at the time, ARCA cars were several hundred pounds lighter than a Cup car, and Bobby said, no, we're not going to use the ARCA rules. We're going to run the Cup rules because I want him to know what it's like to race a Cup car. And Davey almost won our championship in 1984 before moving on to other things. But yeah, the Allison family. Kerry Earnhardt came and raced with us.
Leading to the Earnhardt.
Kerry Earnhardt came and raced with us. Bobby Dale Earnhardt has raced with us a couple of times.
What Dale Earnhardt Sr. has?
Dale Earnhardt Sr. never. Well, I won't say never. He did race a few races with us at like Texas World Speedway and Heartland Park, Topeka, but he was never a regular.
Right, but he made occasional.
Occasional, he would come and spice up the field and help us sell some tickets, but.
Nothing wrong with that. Come on.
Exactly, but he never came and raced with us on his way up the ladder.
Right, but he came in later on.
Yeah, just to kind of help promote some races across the country.
Well, the one thing I notice about the motorsports family is, I've dealt with a lot of the major sports, all the four plus this one, and I actually view motor racing as my third, with hockey and the NBA afterwards with MLB and NFL. And one of the reasons that I give motorsports so much more respect is they give us the media because they want the publicity.
We do.
Hungry for it.
That's right.
And therefore, when I have an opportunity on short notice to talk to a guy like you, it just keeps my adrenaline rolling. Jeff Gordon.
Jeff never came and raced with us, unfortunately. We would have loved to have had him, but he never raced with us.
What about Jimmy Johnson?
Same thing.
Really? Jimmy Johnson done everything but racing. You seriously?
Everything but race with ARCA, yeah.
Yeah, I had a little interesting conversation with him here for the Rolex 24.
He even made one truck series start, but he never came and raced with ARCA.
Oh, well, he's done everything.
Done everything else.
His next move is the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Anyways.
Right.
He told me that here for the Rolex 24. All right, this is a question that I'm going to ask you that I have a colleague that I want to mention to you. So do you feel that more about celebrity or journalist than what we really are here?
Can you rephrase
Yeah,
that?
sure. In other words, I'm
Repeat it.
debuting a show called The Celebrity and the Journalist. Okay.
Right. So who's the celebrity and who's the journalist?
This other guy's a celebrity and I'm the journalist, not that you can hardly figure out.
Right.
So which one do you take a little bit more stock in?
I take more stock in the journalist personally.
Oh, that's worth a fist bump.
One would think the journalist is going to be a little more informed, right?
Yeah, well,
One would think.
some people like the old Hollywood thing. Me, I'm just one of those grind nose.
Grind it out, baby.
Yeah, once upon a time there were typewriters, and I still
never
use
used
white
them.
up. I didn't. Well, I had to. That's the way I got to college. But it's always a question. All right, so let's talk about some tracks. You mentioned Talladega.
Talladega, baby, love it.
Yeah, I had my first opportunity with Russell Branham there this past fall, and I really
in the early 1980s, what is now known as the ARCA Menards Series was known as the ARCA Talladega Supercar Series.
Really?
Talladega actually sponsored our series for a handful of years.
No kidding, really.
That's how important that racetrack is to our series.
So tell me some other racetracks that are important to your series.
Toledo Speedway it's our home racetrack. We're based in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
Flat Rock Speedway, also very important. We will race the ARCA Menards East up at Flat Rock for the very first time.
Okay.
That racetrack was on the ARCA Menards schedule from 1953 through 2000, so it's going to be good to go back there. We've had, I believe, 82 races at Toledo Speedway, so that's a very important racetrack to us. Salem Speedway is a racetrack down in southern Indiana that we have raced at 108 times over the years, more than any other racetrack. Very high bank, just like Bristol, but more treacherous.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Always have a great crowd down there. Elko Speedway is important to us because it's just down the road from the home base of our main sponsor, Menard, there in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We've got a lot of great racetrack partners. This year we will have, all across the ARCA Menards Series platform, we'll have 35 races at 32 different racetracks in 20 different states. So if you can think of a region in the country where stock car racing is big, chances are we're going to be there.
All right, so that leads me to, boy, you talk about it. God, that leads me someplace. You definitely do. But let's talk about Southern Florida. I know that Sebring is a race that we've covered from time to time, and they also have a little track in Palm Beach. Are you familiar with that one?
So we raced at the road course in Palm Beach back in 2010. It was the first time we had ever raced in the rain, but that's the only time we've ever raced there.
Really? Okay. Have you ever done anything with Sebring?
No, never been to Sebring.
All right. So now, being a Motor City guy like I am, unfortunately, NASCAR has limited that venue to one race a year. Do you think at some point or another that they should have two at Michigan International Speedway?
Well, they did have two at Michigan for a very long time, and I actually was the track announcer there for many years.
Oh, were you really?
And yeah, I would, just as a fan, I would, of course, I'd love to have 2 weekends of racing at the track that's closest to my home. But from a business perspective, I totally understand why those dates get shuffled around and taken to other places, around the country. But selfishly, yes, but business-wise, it's probably better to have that date elsewhere.
Do you remember Tommy Cameron?
The name sounds very
Yeah,
familiar.
he took care of me a lot. What about out in Phoenix and other tracks on the West Coast?
So we go to Phoenix once with the ARCA Menards Series National Tour, and we end our ARCA Menards Series West Regional Series at Phoenix every November.
And any other West Coast tracks?
Not for the main ARCA Menards Series Tour. We really are based here on the eastern part of the country, but we do have a regional series that runs 13 races out on the West Coast.
No conversation would be complete unless I talk about owners in motorsports. So
Sure.
I'm going to do the same thing I did with you with the drivers. Well, I'm listing one at a time. Roger Penske.
He has raced with us very frequently over the years, most notably with Austin Cindric most recently. Austin won a race driving a Penske-owned and Cunningham Motorsports prepared car at Kentucky Speedway back in 2017. Ryan Newman won a handful of races with us back in 2001, 2002 before he climbed up the ladder. And very frequently in the early days of Penske racing, when he could run a stock car in NASCAR and ARCA, they did that quite a bit.
Chip Ganassi.
Chip Ganassi had a development program with us in the early going with his stock car tour, and almost all of his drivers, including Juan Pablo Montoya and Dario Franchitti, came through the ARCA Menards Series.
Okay, let's go to the Hendricks.
Hendrick Motorsports won this race in 2004 with Kyle Busch as the driver. So yeah, they've got a pretty deep history with us.
Let's talk about Roush Racing.
Roush Racing was the runner-up in 2008 with Ricky Stenhouse as the driver. And then it wasn't the team owner of record, but gave a lot of technical support to the Rouleau Brothers Racing when they were Rookie of the Year in 2011 with Chris Buescher, and then the championship with Chris in 2012.
Joe Gibbs.
Joe Gibbs has been the winning championship car owner in the ARCA Menards Series East the last couple of years. And of course, his grandson Ty was our champion in 2021. So that team is very active in the series right now.
Let's talk about Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Have you done much over there?
We've never raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but we have raced in Indianapolis quite a bit over the years.
Yeah, Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Yep, we'll race there later on this summer.
Yeah, I actually went there one time.
Doubleheader with the Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah, I'll never forget the time I was going to the Indy 500 as a fan. And I was just riding down the road. I'm trying to remember the road it was, but it's off the top of my head. But I ended up going to IRP. It was pretty
Whoops! How'd you end up out there? Take a wrong turn?
Yeah, well, most people would think that you would. Is it Speedway Avenue, I think, out there?
You will take 136, which takes you out 16th Street to 136, takes you right out to Brownsburg.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I found my way there.
You just took a wrong turn and ended up at a pretty cool place.
Hey, you know what? I've taken a lot of good turns and
There
bad
you
turns,
go.
but that was one of the best bad turns I've ever
There you
taken.
go.
So as we summarize things here, what else do you want to add that we haven't spoken about?
So all 20 of our races this year are live on Fox Sports, FS1, FS2. Many of them are broadcast live on MRN radio as well. They're very easy to find. The ARCA Menards East and West, the two regional touring series, so you can watch those live on Flow Racing. And then a cut-down show rebroadcast on CNBC later on in the week. So like I said, 35 races, 32 racetracks, 20 different states, lots of great racing. We build champions here in the ARCA Menards Series, and we certainly hope you tune in to watch the Stars of Tomorrow race today at a racetrack all across the country.
Well, how much success have you actually had at the Daytona International Speedway?
Me?
Or are you?
Me personally?
Yeah.
None. I've never raced here.
No, I mean,
My family won this race in 1982. How about that?
well, I haven't had any success here
You
either.
remember the year that Bobby Ellison's bumper came off?
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle owned that racetrack.
Oh, really? No
Yeah,
kidding.
no
Yeah.
kidding.
I mean, I haven't had any success over at this track. I haven't been able to do what I did at
Well,
Homestead.
they let you in, so that's
Hey,
a
I'm
success.
proud of that.
That's
Hey,
a
listen,
success.
my biggest accomplishment in this sport now was being able to survive the Rolex 24
There you
hours
go.
and without any sleep.
I heard your hair was dark before that race started.
Well, yeah, that's true. I tell, and I don't know where it is right now, but I'd rather have gray instead of nay, as they always say.
I hear
Yeah,
you.
well, no, I'm with you. And I actually have a baseball cap here called King of the Road.
There you
If
go.
anybody knows anything about endurance racing, I interviewed Graham Goodwin, and we changed stories here about me driving across the country.
There you go.
And this guy covered 24-hour races. And
There
all.
you go. Well, come and see us at Flat Rock Speedway in May for the ARCA Menards Series East Race. We'd love to have you.
I will do my best to do that. But meanwhile, Charles, it's been a great opening act for us here at the Daytona International Speedway. My name is Scott Morganoff from the Sports Exchange. Please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Like it, share it with all your friends and family. I'm a big motorsports junkie, and it's only early in the morning, but I'll tell you what, Charles is definitely a jolt of energy and a whole lot of fun. And by the way, folks, I'm going to get worse as the day and the weekend goes
I'm
on.
glad I caught you early.
Oh, I am too. My friend,
Thank you.
you bet. Appreciate you.